eyes, baby, diamond ring. If that diamond ring don't shine, he gonna take it to a private eye.
Now we're arriving at 1955. This is one of the most quintessential beats of all time. It's just part of the American vernacular. This is called the Bo Diddley beat. The name of the song is Bo Diddley. The name of the artist who sang it was Bo Diddley. But that particular beat, that, you know, clave Latin New Orleans rhythm, has been around for, it was around for a long, long time. He's the first guy who coined it into like a pop, you know, tune that became a real huge success, which influenced a lot of different rock and roll. You're going to hear this groove from that point on to today. Everybody from Bruce Springsteen to U2, even George Michael, even in the musical Grease. That song and that beat has just made its way to every sort of decade ever since. It's an infectious New Orleans style groove. It was played by a drummer by the name of Clifton James, and he played this unique tom-tom thing. But one of the key things on the track is this, you know, eighth note sort of maraca thing. It's got this, the maraca pattern is really strong in the mix. But it's really, I mean, I guess for lack of a better word, you know, it's got this jungle thing to it. And immediately that makes you want to dance. Not long after that, in the late 50s, early 60s, I heard Smokey Robinson and the Miracles do a tune called Mickey's Monkey. And they used that same groove in the Mickey's Monkey tune. And then later that ding, 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 ding moved to the horns and to the organ. It was just a beat that made people dance. So it's been around for a long time, and it will always be, because it just makes people move. In order to play this groove correctly, it's all about the proper balance between the volume of the tom-toms. There's those accented notes, but then there's all these little ghosted notes in between it that are keeping the fabric all together. So you've got to really pull the accents out, but all those other notes have to be ghosted. And if you overplay the tom-tom thing too loud, then it's just obnoxious, and it has to have that light, bouncy kind of feel. And back then the tom-toms were very jazz kind of tunings, because that's all that existed. So you have to go for more of that lighter approach, and the bass drum and the hi-hat have to be lighter. If it's too loud, it gets too cloddy with the 1 and 3, and it weighs the groove down. It's very, you know, George of the Jungle. You know, it's light and bouncy. So touch is everything. And you got to remember, all these grooves in the early part of this poster are all played by guys that were coming out of the swing era. They were essentially jazz drummers, big band drummers, blues drummers. They were drummers of the triplet. And because of those styles, they all swung, and they all had more touch, and they played lighter because the gear, they didn't have Mondo monster cymbal stands. Everything was small, and everything could break easy. So power pedals weren't invented and all that stuff. So everybody had a lighter touch because of the styles of music that were existing during that time. So in order to play any of these grooves right, they have to have more touch, and that comes from the jazz side. The only way to get this groove, or for that matter, any groove on this poster, but the only way to really get this groove is to play along with enough music that comes out of the New Orleans area in that period, because it has a special feel that's in between. It's not straight 8ths and 16ths, but it's not totally swung either. It's a hybrid and a mixture of both of those, partly swung, partly straight. In fact, it can't even really be notated properly on paper because there's no notation system that kind of tells you that feeling that's in between, because it's exactly what it is. It's a feeling. And the feeling can't be put on paper. The closest they do is to make it look like a shuffle, but it's not all the way that. So listening is key. Listening for the feel of the maraca, listening for the sort of the jungle tom-tom thing. It's all listening, but the more and more you listen to music that came from New Orleans during that period, or even now for that matter, that lope, that feel is still in there. You get it by listening, and then eventually it comes. It's just like how a child listens to people talk. I mean, if I was born in Russia, I'd be picking up the Russian accent. If I was born in Spain, I'd be picking up the Spanish accent. Whatever I hear is what I'm able to emulate. And it's the same thing with that. If you hear enough of this music, you will eventually be emulating it, and you go, oh, yeah, that's it. I got it now. So it's back to listening.